Hey Shooby Doodlers, how are you doing? Well, I'm making this video because a while back, a few years ago, I made a video about tracing and how to trace things. And you can click up here and see that video. And I get quite a lot of comments on that video. A lot of people saying, I never knew you could do this. I didn't know how to do it. They've never taught us this at school. But then I get all these amazing comments, people saying, my teachers say this is illegal, this is, we're not allowed to trace anything at school, and people get really angry and say, I shouldn't be making this video, I'm teaching people how to steal, and people get really wound up about it. Well, tracing is brilliant. Tracing is very easy. If you want to know kind of how to do it, then, as I say, go click up here and see that video there. The old-fashioned sort of tracing paper way. But tracing is illegal if you copy someone else's work and you trace somebody else's work and you claim that it is yours. Yes, that is illegal. That's not fair, is it? But if you design something yourself, it's your drawing that you are tracing, then that's not illegal. It's not copying. It's working on your drawing, and it's how all the greatest artists have ever worked. And the greatest artists have learned how to draw by tracing other great artists' work. And that's how you do it. But you don't claim that it's yours. You're just tracing it to see how other people have done it. I use tracing all the time, and I think you'll find most artists trace all the time. And I trace when I'm sort of making an illustration, it's coming out of my head, and I sketch it down. I think, oh, and I need to move that there. I need to move that bit there, and to improve and improve and improve on the composition of the drawing. And that's what I use tracing for. And now I'm going to show you, going to go through a little process, and I'm going to show you how I use tracing to aid composition. So tracing for me is everyday work, and it's brilliant. So stop thinking it's illegal and stop thinking it's bad, and go and tell your teacher they are stupid. Tracing is brilliant. Okay, tell them I said so. This is a printout of the rough artwork that I did for the book cover. I printed it out so it's on thin enough paper that it'll shine through on the light table. And so I have traced various sort of sketches. I didn't like this little dog here, and I thought maybe he'd be more of a chow, kind of working on his hair. Here you can see I've changed the hair several times, and this is all tracing through and changing the dogs a little bit each time. Still working on him. You see, it's getting him the right age as well. This is the other thing. So just got to keep working at that. And I'm not sure about this little dog here, so I've been tracing different variations of it. And then I thought I got it right, and I started doing it on nice, beautiful watercolour paper, and I thought, no, that's not right. So I did it again. I traced through. See, I did it with this little pug face. I thought it's just not right, and now I think the position's wrong, and also then something's gone wrong with the feet. You got this curve going around here. You don't know what's happening. This tail is going into the shoe. I'm not happy with it. So I start tracing again, and so this is my new kind of base drawing, but I'm still not happy with it. I've got quite a lot more drawing to go through with this. So I'm going to turn on the light table. So I've got a light coming up underneath here. First thing is I've taken this dog, who is the main dog in the story, and I'm trying to get them to, be connected here, but it just doesn't look right, and this dog is turning its back on us, and I kind of feel that's wrong. So I want to kind of bring them more together, and so I'm going to work first on this dog, and just kind of work on this as we go. Now you see, this is where all the confusion reigns. See, and I did a video, the link is up here, I probably mentioned it before. I did a video about how to trace once, and I get these comments on there. People say, my teachers have told me that tracing is illegal, and it's just, and it's wrong. And And who are these teachers? What is this nonsense you are teaching your kids? Tracing is brilliant, it's illegal if you start tracing other people's work and start claiming it is yours, which you see quite a lot on YouTube. And that's called forgery. That's not tracing. Tracing is just the act of having a thin sheet of something over the top of something underneath, and you're copying through. And if it's your original drawing, how can you be cheating? How can you be illegally copying your own work? So get that completely out of your head, that it is not illegal to trace. It's only illegal if you trace and use that work and claim it to be your own, and especially if you start trying to get money for it, then that is completely wrong. So what I am doing here is, this is my drawing, which I've started off with, and I'm not quite happy with it, and I'm just rearranging, readjusting to get the whole thing right. And so, in fact, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change from that drawing to this drawing, because I want to have more of an angle going on, and I think that's about right there. So now I'm going to put him in here. So it's all about rearranging and readjusting. And I want to go back to the original, because something has changed with this hair. I think it's got much thicker somewhere. So I'm going to actually bring that up here like that. And I want these eyes to be more circular. Quite a lot of it's hiding underneath the hair. What I'm doing is I'm trying to make this hair look similar to the ears of the dog. Okay, so that they got this, that thing about how people get to look like their dog. Well, in this case, he already looks like the dog. and I think I just want a little nose. I think that's part of the problem. I gave him just too big a nose, I think. And yeah, so we're going to put this kind of hoodie kind of top thing going on there, and a t-shirt. Now also I feel this it's just looking too bulky somehow, so I'm going to do sort of like that, and I'll have his body there, and I want him sort of slightly more turned than he is at the moment. So I'm just slightly changing this, and then we're going to have, I'll bring that more around like that. So you can just keep playing with the thing and moving things around, so you get a really nice balance. See, there's another question I get is, how do you how do you lay out a picture and get it all balanced and everything in perspective and stuff? Is by playing around like this. You either sit in front of the scene that you're trying to draw, and actually sit out there, plein air, as they say, and kind of paint and draw in real life, and try and draw that, or you get photographs and you use those as the basis, which quite often means that your drawing ends up kind of looking a bit like a photograph. Now I'm going to want his leg coming down about like that, I think. Yeah, that looks about right. So maybe more there. So yeah, so if you're drawing from photographs, your drawing will start looking like a photograph. So this is an illustration from my head, and the only way to get it looking right is through experience, which means that you've drawn millions of things before, and you just have a way of doing it, or you start with a sketch and you start kind of shaping it and tracing it and redrawing it till it's just right. So I'm not happy with that hand now, because now that this dog has moved, I think we need to have more of a so I'm going to have bring his hand sort of around there, I think, and then so there's more of a connection between the two, like that.
And I think his trousers will be going kind of behind the paw there. And that's kind of looking a bit more like it. And he's leaning forward more now, which is giving more kind of action to the whole thing. And now I can reposition everything to get this little puppy in the front there who's just having fun racing along. Maybe making a bit spotty or something like that as well. So we want to have that kind of leaping up there. And we're still going to have this one around the back here. So like I said, it's just rearranging and working out. And I think maybe, this is something people would find boring, maybe. to just keep working on it. They just want to do it. I think that happens quite a lot with art. I think people just want to do it. And also I think there's this kind of feeling that with art you should, it comes from somewhere within, and you've got to kind of, go with the spirit of art and let it kind of flow. And well, if you go to the Sistine Chapel and you look at Michelangelo's frescoes there, and it's all traced. And he didn't kind of do it like this with paper. He would draw it on paper. All those Michelangelo cartoons, when you come up to them, you'll see these beautiful, beautiful pencil drawings. There'd be little holes in them, tiny little pin pricks. And he would put that up against the wall, and then he'd get a pounce bag, which is like a bag full of chalk dust, and then he'd pat it against the drawing, and then it would punch through these little pinholes and leave a mark on the wall behind. So he would do all the drawings on the roof, Sistine Chapel roof. It was all done on sheets of paper and traced onto the roof to do the painting. You can't just lie up there on the scaffolding and just produce art like that. It all has to be thought about and designed, and especially such complicated art where everybody has to be in the right position and the right size, and one character has to be a particular size proportion compared to another depending on their importance in the painting, all that kind of thing. It all has to be worked out beforehand, and very, very rarely do you get art that just appears on a page. And if it does, then it's because the artist has probably painted that picture many times before. And I'm particularly thinking kind of watercolour. Watercolour is an unforgiving medium. You have to get it right first time. And so when you see people doing beautiful, beautiful landscapes, a lot of it's a bit like jazz. And they have these little routines they do. Oh, right, I'll do that kind of a sky, and they've practiced that sky 100 times. So whoosh, in goes that fabulous sky. And they might have just had a bit of insight on that day. I'm going to try and add a bit of pink in or something, or a bit of this in there, see what happens. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, it goes in the bin and you never see it. But the next time they do it, they get it right. And you go, wow, that's amazing. It's so spontaneous. It's because they've practiced and practiced and practiced and rehearsed that particular kind of painting event. What happens when you add that paint in that particular way. And so it looks incredibly spontaneous, but so much is actually rehearsed. And that rehearsal is a bit like tracing, that you're sort of getting all these things pre-planned and organised and prepared. That's what you're doing. So now I'm feeling a lot happier with this one. It's nice Arches Aquarelle watercolour paper, Grain Satiné, hot pressed. So I like this. I've got a half sheet ready. And you can probably hardly see over the top of that. I'm just taping this all down. You've got to keep it all in the same position. So if you tape it down, then it's not going to move. You're going to be able to keep control of what's happening. And now it's just a question of kind of drawing it. And this is tricky because I don't want it to be too, what's the word, hard, I suppose is the word I'm looking for. So I'm going to have an ear there. I don't want it to be too sharp. I'll have a little bit of freedom to it. And put this other. Now I want these two looking together, looking at each other. Little nose. And make the mouth a bit smaller. Yeah, that's better. I'm happy with him now. And that's going to be his t-shirt. Inside this kind of hoodie kind of thing that he's wearing. Now I think we have to do the dog. And so these ears are going to want to, they're going to be the same colour, and they're going to be kind of, that they need to echo each other, these two, because they're kind of very, very close. What's the story about? Wow. It all started in a writer's room at a book festival I was at, and I was having lunch, and I turned to the person next to me. I said, "Oh, are you a writer?" He was in Scotland. "No," he said in a very deep voice. I said, "Oh, what do you do?" He said, "I'm a dog whisperer." And in that instant, I knew I was going to write this book, and it's just kind of, the plot just flashed into my mind. Which is wonderful when that happens. But it doesn't mean that you've written a book. You've still got to go out and write the book and think about it. And so I did that for a bit. So I suppose it was about 3 years before I actually got around to writing the book. And so it's coming out in January. And my editor is working on the story at the moment. Now we need to get this cover done, and there we go. And then I think we're going to need another, yeah, good. And then I think that angle on this dog is just still not quite right, so I'm going to move this. I'm just still not happy with the angle of the dog. I'm going to have him about like that, I think. And I'm going to bring his forehead down a bit as well, I think. So it's constantly kind of adapting and changing as you go along. And he's going to have a little bit of tongue sticking out, because that's what dogs do, isn't it? But I want him very much looking forwards, like that. Little waggy tail and short little dumpy legs, like that. You can have a little collar there. She needs a collar there. And now I can take this off and get that back to where we were, just about like that. Yeah, can bring his shoulder around like that. And I think we need to do his hand first, so that I can put the jumper, sweatshirt around behind like that. And I think I can drop that shoulder there a bit. Yeah, that's much better. And then we need to get the thumb, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll get his lead, instead of coming out like that, and it's swinging around, and we got that kind of a little clippy thing on the end there. I think we're going to see a bit of his jumper behind there. And now we're going to need trousers. I say trousers, you may say pants. Which in England we say trousers. Pants are what you wear underneath your trousers. So pants is not a naughty word. but it's used as a derogatory term, like, oh, that's just pants. And in a children's book, of course, you can always raise a laugh just by mentioning pants, which is why, yeah. So I don't suppose you do in America. You talk about pants, they just think they're trousers. But the pants in Britain are underwear. So you can always raise a laugh with children by talking about pants. And here we have this little guy. And get those ears in. And make him a little bit more fluffy, this one, I think. Yeah, that works. And that's much better. And I think I'm going to have him just looking straight at us. Oh, I missed that. I was going to have him looking straight at us. I can fix that in Photoshop, of course, if he's not looking exactly at us. That's the wonder of illustration these days. In the old days, that if I made a big mistake like that, then I'd have to go and sort of paint another little bit in, or paint it over, or cut a piece of paper into it. What have we got going on here? So we need to see his yeah, we need to see that back leg there, don't we? That'll do it. Yeah, good. That's him. And then we need this guy. I'm still not happy with his ears, so I'm going to make his ears a little bit bigger, I think, like that. And give him a nice big shiny nose. And he's going to be lolling with his great big tongue, like that, so we can fit teeth in there. And he's going to want his what's it called? Dog tag collar thing there. And we're going to want to have him looking adoringly like that. And again, we want to have sort of like paws coming out and his chest, and that's going to be there, and his chest will be coming around under there, and I think his legs will be all the way behind, so we don't need to worry about them. And then we need this little fella. He's just having a good time joining in, and so he's more of a character than a dog, I suppose. Because I just want to kind of get that expression of joy on his face. He's not only running with the guys, but he's running with Walker. This is Walker, this lad, and so all the dogs want to be out with him because he's the man. He's the lad. And so I'm now feeling a lot happier about that. Put a bit more movement there. Change the lighting. There we go. And I am so much happier with that. Okay, well, this is what I painted, and I don't know, I think I was tired for one thing and other things. Anyway, I didn't like it, so I had to go back and do some more tracing. I didn't like this little fella down here in the end, so I kind of moved him further down and over to this position here, and I made the heroine dog Stella. I made her more sort of fluffy because she's meant to be a Cocker Spaniel, so I made her more fluffy. And in the end, here we are. Here's the finished drawing. And also you can see I kind of changed the top here. I thought the red and the blue wasn't looking right. So I actually went on Google Images and I typed in clothes for 10-year-old boys. And this little outfit came up and I thought, wow, that looks pretty cool. And so that's what I did. And there we are. I think I'm happy with that now. I'm going to go and scan that, and I'm going to send it off to my publishers, and I hope they're going to like it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, make sure you are subscribed to the Shoe Winner Drawing channel for lots more drawing stuff every week. And in the meantime, make sure you keep drawing, practice, and I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye-bye.